Hi, welcome to the Taking Care of Tutu podcast. I'm your host, Meg Openup. Today, we are going to just do a solo episode with me talking about conservatorships and guardianships. Remember, we're in the state of Hawaii, so what I'm saying is legal information about our state. If you're in a different state, your law might be a little bit different, so you'll want to do some double checking if you're in another state. So here in Hawaii, we have a legal process called a conservatorship and a different one called a guardianship. So who would need one of these proceedings? We do them for a couple different groups of people. Our most typically occurring one is an elderly person who has become incapacitated for medical reasons, usually Alzheimer's, dementia. And so sometimes people assume that the spouse is automatically able to manage their affairs, but that's not true. Maybe if they have a joint checking account, the spouse can manage it because they're on the account, but they're not usually able to do everything, and a power of attorney is required. We did one of our very earliest podcast episodes was about powers of attorney. So if a spouse is incapacitated or a mom is incapacitated or a friend, nobody necessarily has the authority to manage that person's money or their affairs and the paperwork for them. If they have done a power of attorney, what I mean by that is a general durable power of attorney, and they've named someone, then that person should have the authority to manage their bill paying, their bank account, things like that for them. If they have an advanced healthcare directive, if they've done that already, then they've probably named someone who has the ability to make their healthcare decisions on their behalf if they're not able to make or communicate their own healthcare decisions. So typically in a case like that, we wouldn't need a conservatorship or a guardian. So a lot of us don't want to think about being incapacitated. We would even think about dying before we would think about being incapacitated. And so we just started bringing it around to doing the power of attorney of the healthcare directive, and then someone has a stroke or some kind of medical situation that renders them no longer able to make their own decision. Now, of course, that is too late for that person to be doing legal documents. People come in our office quite often saying, I need to get a power of attorney for my wife, my husband, my mom. But when we speak to the person, it's clear that they do not have the capacity to be signing legal paperwork. I'm not allowed to let someone sign legal paperwork if they don't know what they're signing. And so we have to say, unfortunately, the time for doing a power of attorney has passed. We can't do that any longer. Now we need to do a court case. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a contested court case. We only do uncontested court cases. So when we're doing it, we're wanting to make sure that the whole family is on board with the decision. Okay, we are naming this person or these two people as the conservatorship for mom. The other three siblings are going to sign off and say, that's okay with us. And so what we're doing is if we need someone to care for the person because they don't have a healthcare directive, then we're filing a court case called a guardianship. If we need someone to care for the property, business side affairs, financial matters for someone, then we're doing a conservatorship. Frequently, we are filing them both at the same time. So rather than doing two separate cases over the same subject, we're filing it as a conservatorship guardianship. So those are done on Maui, those are done in circuit court. So all the filing now is online. So we're doing the filing. When we do the filing, we need a letter from the physician that says that the person does not have capacity. So the first step is to do the petition. So I think typically people use attorneys for those. And so you're going to want the person who wants to be appointed is going to come forward and file a petition or a guardianship or a conservatorship or both. If you do just a guardianship, you can do that in family court, which is on the third floor of the courthouse. If you want to do a conservatorship, those are heard in circuit court, which is the fourth floor of our courthouse here on Maui. I have done family court guardianships before. remember how I said it takes a couple months to get a hearing? We have done a couple recently where there's been an emergency. In both cases, it had to do with fraud, and the family was they were very worried. So, um, if you are concerned because the person you're worried about has like gotten married to someone and you don't think they knew what they were doing or had capacity when they did it, or they're being scammed in some way. I mean, one of the difficult things about cognitive decline is we don't know we're having cognitive decline when we're having cognitive decline. So a lot of times the protective party is in denial about their cognitive decline. So they will be saying that it's fine. But if you have the financial records or you know the history, they may not be remembering what has happened. So if you're having an emergency, you don't necessarily have to wait the 2 months. You can sometimes get an emergency order. We've been able to get emergency orders within a few days, luckily. Now, whether it's like, for example, if you're dealing with a bank, whether they will accept an emergency order, remember, it's only a temporary order pending the final hearing. So whether they will accept that or not, we don't know, but we can assist in getting an emergency order of temporary guardianship or temporary conservatorship. We have had that where successfully be in a getting a divorce situation where there was the family believed it was a fraudulent marriage. We had had someone recently who needed one to put their a very sick relative on their medical insurance. And as though we said, I don't know if the health insurance company will take it, but we will get you the emergency orders. So we were able to get the emergency orders, and then they can then advocate for the person with the health insurance company. Of course, trying to get a very sick person on your health insurance, they're not necessarily predisposed to want to agree to that. So whether the temporary ones, I don't know yet if the temporary ones will work or if they will need to wait until they have the permanent order after the hearing.